Welcome to Build Your Maverick Business, the podcast for underdog, outlier, and renegade entrepreneurs. Brought to you by Strange Creative Studio. If you dream of going off on your own and launching your rebel empire, but don't know where to start, you're in the right place. We'll teach you how to use mindset, branding, and practical advice to build a killer business and transform your world. And now, here's your host, founder of Strange, Alex Pitt.
Hello you lot, welcome back. Tell me, did anybody watch Eurovision at the weekend? I realise this isn't something that people necessarily assume that I'm going to be into, being all spooky and that, and bearing in mind that Eurovision is very cheesy. But my fucking God, I had a lovely time watching that on Saturday. You get well into it, don't you? Oh, I was hooked. Devastated that Australia didn't win. That was my absolute jam of the event. Just give me a keytar any day of the week. It was amazing. But no, it was really good fun. We went to a Eurovision party and so made it into a bit of a drinking game, which we kind of had to abandon at some point because, I mean, one of the criteria for when you could have a drink was when Graham Norton said something sarcastic. I mean, we were only drinking fairly light beer, but we were still battered about half an hour in. Yeah, I had to abandon that at one point, but still, a lovely time was had by all. So if this isn't the first time that you've listened to this podcast, you will have heard me talk about the area where I live and how much I love it. It's a lovely, lovely suburban area, very leafy, very family friendly, lots of coffee shops. I love where I live. It's absolutely stunning. However, there is one part of the town that I fucking hate with a burning passion because it's just fucking annoying. The reason being, it's a junction. It's the busiest part of the town. It's a very busy junction. And no matter which way you go, you have to slow down a lot to get around Johnny Public. Now, I am a very lanky lady, very long in the body. I like to walk fast because I've got long legs. And so I get really, really frustrated when I get to this part of town. You've got to stop for traffic lights, you've got to stop to let people out the way, there's narrow passageways, it's all a little bit much. Yeah, it's just too many fucking people. But sometimes I suffer through it, some days, because it's the quickest way to get to where you need to be. Sometimes if I want to go to the park, I have to go through this shitty beer town. So the other day, I went to go to the park. I wanted an ice cream. I was on my way. And I had to wait at this junction for a good while. Like, it was probably about 20 seconds, but it felt like 4 days because it's all very crowded, all very claustrophobic. So I'm stood there waiting for the lights to change and I saw a learner driver go past. Now, learner driver had one of those little, I don't know what you call it, little Toblerone things on top of the car that lets you know it's a learner. You know, one of those things that will have like, it has the number, the phone number of the instructor, big red L, and it will have the name of the driving school or the driving instructor. So usually on these things, on your little Toblerone thingies, you'd see some kind of pun. Some sort of driving related name or something like, you know, let's pass quickly or, I mean, let's pass fast. That's the one, isn't it? Makes more sense. Or the driving people or, you know, pass first time or something like that. One of these brand names related to driving. Now, this instructor, this car that went past, just had no colours, no nice fonts, nothing, just very much Arial font, black and white. And it just said Ian and then had his phone number underneath. Now, I have a weird sense of humour. That fucking sent me. I was stood there pissing myself at these traffic lights. Just Ian and a phone number. Like, absolutely no effort whatsoever. No nonsense, no bullshit from Ian. So let me tell you why this made me laugh so much and why this has inspired an episode of Build Your Maverick Business. Now, I can picture Ian, right? Ian is a no-nonsense kind of fella. Now, I imagine this is very much a picture that I have painted. He voted Brexit. He drinks London Pride in the same chair of the same pub around the corner from his house. He talks about craft beer. He describes it as hoppy shite, like he'll always drink the same beer. He's the sort of guy who will say how the country's going to the dogs. He's extremely loyal to a London football team. Refers to his wife as the Mrs. You can picture this guy as well, right? You have met an Ian in your lifetime. If you live in the UK, for my non-UK listeners, you might be thinking, what the fuck are you on about? But I believe that my UK listeners know exactly what I'm talking about when I describe Ian. Now, you might have a different interpretation, right? But that's immediately where my mind went when I saw this little thing on top of the car. Bearing in mind, this is a complete flash, a few seconds for me to make this picture in my mind, for me to create this image of who this imaginary guy is, of who Ian is. So I saw that, I thought it was hilarious. I went through these like little picture painting things in my head until I had an amazingly comprehensive idea of who Ian is. But also, and this is a service I actually need. I don't have a driving license, right? So I am in the market, well, I will be when I pull my fucking finger out. I am in the market to hire a driving instructor to pick somebody. Now, Ian wouldn't be the first person that I called. Now, because of that picture that I painted, because of everything that I described and what I imagine Ian is like, I can also imagine that he'd be the sort of guy that gets quite irate with his students. Now, I am a very sensitive soul. And if I stalled at a roundabout and Ian raised his voice slightly, or, got a little bit annoyed at me, I would just cry. I would just be really upset. And I've painted this entire picture, not just of what Ian is like, but of what my experience of working with him would be like, based on the back of 3 letters in black and white on a passing vehicle, right? A flash in my day. The point I'm trying to hammer home with this is that you have a brand, whether you realise it or not. Whether you're actually paying attention to it or you're putting any effort into it whatsoever, your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. Ian's brand is everything I've just described, having never met the man. So I know what you're probably thinking at this point. Okay, Alex, but you've never met Ian. Poor Ian. He's probably a lovely fella. He's probably nothing like what you've just described, and you're just being a judgy biatch. So obviously, if you added in another touch point of me actually meeting Ian, I might have a completely different picture. Yes, exactly. That's exactly it though, right? If you run a business, you're not always going to be present, physically present to represent yourself as you actually are. So the way that you show up visually, the content that you put out, and the way that your brand is representing you when you're not in the room, all of that stuff fucking counts. People are going to be making judgments based on everything that they see, based on the way that your website looks, based on the design that you use on your social media, with your tone of voice when you write blog posts. Every way that people interact with you without actually interacting with you, the person, or the collective of people, that's your brand. And if you're not doing anything with it, it doesn't mean that you don't have a brand. It just means that you're leaving the way that people perceive you to chance. And if you're leaving it to chance, then you're leaving it to people like me to make wild assumptions. In the same way that I did with Ian. Now, if you follow Strange on Instagram or you follow me, my personal page on LinkedIn, you'll see that I love a little carousel of facts as a post. Facts about branding, facts about design. Now, this one fact I posted recently, I find it fascinating and it backs up my point. So a survey by Small Business Trends found that 94% of respondents cited web design as the reason they mistrusted or rejected a website. So the design of the website itself, how it looks, is how trustworthy people think that something is. If it just looks sexy and professional, people are more likely to trust, to put their faith in that brand. So if you go full on Ian on your website and let it be janky and ugly and not work and not branded in a way that's true to you, like not just branded in any way, but in a way that represents the experience of working with you as a person, buying your service, buying your product. If you're not paying attention to any of that, you're literally repelling people who could be your ideal customers or clients. Keeping that brand strong across all channels, not just your website, everywhere that people are going to interact with you, is so important to make sure that they are saying the right thing about you when you're not in the room. All right, you lot, that's it from me for this week. Enjoy the sunshine, my loves, and I will catch you here next time.
Got an idea for a maverick business of your own? Learn how to build a powerful brand that will get people obsessed with our online program, not just a pretty logo. You'll learn a simple step-by-step framework that will kickstart your killer brand and help you find your raving fan base. Find out more today at strangecreativestudio.com.